Thank you. And listening to that is Tim Crosland, who's a spokesperson for Extinction Rebellion. Good morning.
Good morning, Michelle.
What do you think of what you've heard? A modest reset, a minor adjustment is the way the inspector's describing it.
Well, I think it's absolutely right to be concerned about disruption to the public. And if we're concerned about that, let's talk about what Sir James Bevan said last week, the Chief Executive of the Environment Agency, where we're currently heading in terms of the climate crisis. The net effects will collapse ecosystems, slash crop yields, take out the infrastructure that our civilization depends on, and destroy the basis of the modern economy and modern society. If we're going to talk about disruption to the public, let's talk about COVID, which is just the foothills of the climate and ecological crisis, how it's exposed the inequalities in our society, which has led to a nurse being fined £10,000 last week for protesting against a below-inflation pay rise, while we've seen billionaires doubling their profits through this crisis, the government handing out dodgy contracts to its friends and its sponsors. Let's look at the racism that's been exposed by COVID, and let's ask ourselves whether the way to handle that disruption is to clamp down on people protesting against these crises that we face right now, with Priti Patel wanting to impose 10-year sentences of imprisonment on ordinary members of the public. That's what I think we should be asking ourselves.
I mean, as Matt Parr said, he supports the right to protest and for there to be disruption in the course of that. I mean, legislation may well, change the parameters. I wonder whether you would be prepared to moderate some of what you've done, where people have been prevented from getting on public transport or prevented from getting to work.
I think we'd be delighted to moderate what we did if we saw the government taking action to prevent this terrible risk to the public that we face at the moment. What we saw last week was the Public Accounts Committee, a highly respected committee in Parliament, saying the government has no plan to meet its own climate targets. And how is that acceptable? What we're seeing instead is the government approving the opening of a new coal mine, cutting taxes on airfares, granting new oil and gas licenses, cutting financial support to the most vulnerable communities around the world while they're being devastated. And we must take a stand about this. We must take a stand for our young people. We must take a stand for all those on the front line. And not to do that is a dreadful failure of courage and will.
Tim Crosland from Extinction Rebellion, thank you.